Welcome to the fourth episode of Series 87, everyone. This month we have returning guest James D'Amato to learn about the game he is co-designing with another previous guest, Drew Merzieski, called Cosmic Century Knights, a retro anime and JRPG-inspired fantasy role-playing game. In today's episode, we get into the discussion with James, learning a bit more about him and a bit more about this game. But before we get to that, we do have some calls to action coming up after the show. Here's what to expect. Join us here after the show to learn about our panel at GameHole Con coming up on Friday, October 17th in Madison, Wisconsin, as well as information about our next planned streaming date, our Patreon, how to leave a review for the show, and our patron thank yous as usual. With all of that out of the way, enjoy the show, everyone.
Welcome back to our discussion episodes. Last time we finished our session 0 for our Cosmic Century Knights characters. This episode, we will be discussing that character creation process. We are excited to welcome back James D'Amato, co-creator of Cosmic Century Knights. Do you want to reintroduce yourself for everyone? And please tell us a little bit about the character you made in our last episodes.
Of course. Hello, heroes. I am James D'Amato. You might recognize my voice as the former host of the One Shot Podcast, the current host of the Campaign Skyjacks, Star Wall, and Ultimate RPG podcasts. You, if you listen to this show, probably also recognize me as the guest that was most recently on the previous episode. So maybe all of this is unnecessary, but the character I made was Strago, the Star Prince. He is a star wanderer who wields a cursed blade that has killed every knight who has ever wielded it, and it is also the royal blade of his family line on a planet that no longer exists, from a people that are probably no longer around. He wants to honor duty, honor, and justice, and his blade desires vengeance. Together, they are on a new planet where the Cosmic Blade has landed to try and make up for the destruction of the royal line by bringing justice here as a century knight.
Yours is so like dramatic. And I'm like looking at mine and there's like, we have very different characters. And I'm very excited to find out how all of this goes together. Because I feel like we all got like a very nice little glimpse into the variety of things that we can do in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, Ryan, please tell us about what you have going on.
All right. My character's name is Mountain Glade. They are named after the place that they were born because they were previously not a sentient creature. They were just an animal, which is kind of like it's the bigger version of the most popular pet on this world, which is if you take a xenomorph and add a bunch of knives and make them cat-sized.
I forgot we did that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we get to this episode and I'm like, I forgot the choices we made.
Yeah, so the Zorks, they are the tiny ones, and I think the bigger versions are the Morks, and basically I'm effectively like a panther-sized xenomorph with like knife body capabilities. And my parents died trying to defend the embodiment of death in this world, who was trying to protect us against people that were trying to kill off the last of the Morks, because we're a very dangerous species. The smaller ones, little dangerous, but super cute and super pet worthy. But the bigger ones, people were afraid of them. So
for good reason, if there are panthers with knife hands.
I know, you would think. But Death died, and I was the last one standing to protect it. And Death bestowed upon me this sword, the Soul Cleaver, which is a blade that lets me cleanse a soul when I kill a foe with it. And it also produces like a darkness, and it can float things, and that's kind of cool. This blade is arcane. It's like a katana with arcane symbols all around it, and it desires defending. And my character, the Mountain Glade, is an orphan talking animal that has the iridescent dark teal purple pearlescent oily skin. And I desire kind of protecting nature in this world. So together we roam the countryside with our katana in our mouths, protecting those who need protecting. And that's Mountain Glade.
Amazing.
It's a lot of fun. Amelia.
Yeah.
Tell us about your character.
In a completely wild, very separate from either thing that either of you made, my character is Wendy Chartreuse. Wendy is an artist. Wendy also is only 25 years old, but looks like a middle-aged high school art teacher. And Wendy is here to cause chaos. Just absolute chaos all the time. However, her sword wants balance. It is Lover's Blade. It looks beat up. It has been through a lot. It's very much like this relationship with her and her sword is very hot and cold. It's very like can hit hard, but she can't take a hit at all. Live fast, die young is what we're doing over here.
Sure.
And we're gonna see if she and her sword can remain friends, because it seems like an unlikely friendship.
Those aren't the most opposed desires that exist in the game, so no. I kind of think you can work things out.
I think we'll get there. Absolutely. I think we'll both learn and grow, hopefully, if either of us live through this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's all. Not to mention the clouds that are ice cream, the multicolored cosmic shrimp that is a delicacy. And light affects flavor in this world, which is probably why the lava barbecue is so popular, because the light from the lava infuses it with a flavor that you can't get anywhere else.
Exactly.
So a lot of fun stuff going on in this world.
I would watch this cartoon like in a style of like an Adventure Time or a Star versus the Forces of Evil, or like,
oh yeah,
this feels like I get a lot of those vibes here
along those lines. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's go ahead and dive into our segment that we are calling D20 for your thoughts.
D20 for your thoughts.
All right. So in this segment, we talk to you about your thoughts on on character creation, about the process, how it relates to this system, other systems, you as a human being. First, you've been on our show before. We had to write a new question for you. We've complained to you about it already.
You're complaining so much about having to do
it's so difficult.
Any original work for your show.
Yep. No, we want people to listen and have nothing but consistency and listen to basically the same episode. If we could put out series 1 over and over. No, I'm just kidding. We have to ask you a new question. So we're going to dive further into getting to know you. We're going to get to know you a little better. Your work, knowing your work in the actual space. We hear you take on all kinds of characters. What do you primarily draw your inspiration from for those characters, especially ones you have to make up on the spot?
This is probably, it really depends on the system, right? These days, because I make so many characters, I am rarely coming to the table with, I want to play this type of guy, and I'm going to use this system to make this type of guy.
Yeah.
I vastly prefer a system that will push me in a direction that I don't expect, because I've been doing this for decades now. I've played, for the most part, all of the guys that I wanted to bring to the table and mess around with. And so now I need to find original ideas. And so that's what I'm after. As for, where inspiration comes from, I think, especially because I play in a lot of like comedy focused sessions and whatnot, most of my characters are on some level like reprehensible loser weirdos these days. Like I do like playing those. Strago is definitely not in that vein, but I do like playing characters who are like bad people and bad things happen to them and they deserve those things to happen. Because it's funny to like take the powers that are afforded to you in a role-playing game and use them to be pathetic in some way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's also different calculations that you make whether you're playing in a campaign or a one-shot too.
Sure.
Because I think, with a campaign, you're like, okay, I have to sit with this character for a while. So I need to at least kind of like them. Whereas like if I sit down at a convention or like a one-shot game, I'm like, let's I mean,
you say that. I'm playing SAC right now in Star Wars.
True. maybe the calculation
still with
is
redeemable qualities.
Different for you. I don't know. I know personally, especially too, like on this show, because we don't actually have to play these characters. I never have to live with any consequences of my choices. So I can make like the worst decisions. And it is very freeing. And I think that has definitely impacted how I play when I do sit down to play actual games too. I'm less precious. And maybe that just comes from like playing more often too. I don't hold on as tight sometimes to like this character needs to be like the best narrative story I can possibly tell with these. I'm like, that looks stupid. I want to pick that. Ooh, that's a bad choice. Let's try it.
Yeah. Lean into the nonsense. It's fun.
It is.
Absolutely. Well, last time you were on, James, we asked you what your favorite character creation mechanic was. I was curious if that might have changed since then over the last 5 years.
Now, is that
do you remember what you said?
Or in the
general,
context of the game?
In general, like what sort of character creation mechanic, like when you see it, just like you really like to see that sort of thing?
I guess I would have to say the open-ended question, something that gives you a strong starting perspective and asks you something that you are not expecting to be asked.
Yeah. I think those are exciting because it's like it does give you enough to be like, those questions that are like, this thing happened, how do you feel about it? And you're like, oh, okay. Or so
I like it to go. I like it to go a level beyond that. It's not this thing happened. How do you feel about it? I like how do you feel about it to be an implied question or something that lurks beneath the surface, and like the follow-up question to be like, what did you decide to hide as a result? That like it's giving you several layers of things. I think the best examples of this, like if you look at For the Queen, that's exactly this style of thing. It's like hitting you with some heavy information. There's a lot to dig in and ask questions about, and then jumping off from there to give you even more information. It's, I think, one of the best ways to make up a little guy.
Yeah. For the Queen, the only role-playing game I've ever gotten my mom to play, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. She got kind of into it. It was fun.
Yeah.
One of the things we talk about is character sheets and playbook layout, because I think that's often the first interaction that people have with a game, especially as players. Often you're not sitting down reading the entire rule book. You show up and somebody hands you a sheet. What sort of story do you want your character sheets to tell? What kind of information do you feel like is important to convey to people in this game?
So, I mean, this is an interesting question because we haven't gotten to lay out the character sheets yet. I like a character sheet to be a functional tool. I want the most important information easy to find. The stuff that people are going to be referencing all of the time when they play, sort of laid out there for them. On this sheet that we're using in these like prototype character sheets, I've got on the first page the blessings of the blades, your hit points, your effort, and your recoveries, because those are things that I expect you're going to interact with multiple times every session.
Right.
I also have included in this the rolling guide, because the mechanics for this system, it uses a sliding scale of control and impact for your rolls. Basically, you choose one die that represents your control, like how carefully planned, how exacting, how precise you are in whatever you're doing, and that will correspond with an impact die that will tell you how effective what you're doing is. The example is if you're going to swing your sword the hardest you've ever swung it in your life, you're probably putting more power than control into that, so you would be rolling as control a D4, but for your impact, you'd be rolling a D20. So you as the player are deciding how you are applying your character's skill and effort. And while that is something that like people aren't going to be filling in, I have that little sliding scale guide there on every sheet because I think it makes it easier to play the game.
Yeah. It's something that you'd reference pretty frequently.
Yeah. Then I've got the details section after that, which is merely like, this is, you know, the information that we listed off at the top of the thing. Like, it's stuff that I expect people, once they've made it up and they're playing the game, they're probably not going to ever need to reference that. But, you know, if it's like all of us, it's useful to have that somewhere on the sheet to be like, oh, yeah, I did this weeks ago. Who was this guy again?
Right.
And then the final page, I've got information about leveling up because, and we will discuss this later on in the program, of how leveling up in the show works. Like people, or in this game works, people are going to need to reference that as they are playing.
Yeah.
So as far as graphic design, I am not a layout person. I am not a visual person. I know I will have opinions when the first character sheet comes back to me about, and that will be mostly in terms of what does the font and illustration and whatnot on the page tell people about the game that they're going to play. What colors is it? And maybe a little bit of like, where is information located? And of course, the other thing is everything large enough to write in? For me, definitely, I'm going to want to make sure that that we're presenting in a PDF that is form fillable, so people can copy paste their blessings onto the sheet. But apart from that, I don't have strong opinions. I do think, because Cosmic Century Knights is a space fantasy RPG where you can play in a setting that feels very much like a cookie cutter traditional fantasy setting, or you could play in something weird like ours where clouds are ice cream and there are people traveling between like the moon and the planet, that sort of thing. I want there to be a mix of sort of futuristic and like sleek imagery and more organic kind of the well that I've been drawing on for most of the fantasy stuff is Art Nouveau. I really want something that feels like decorative and a little bit romantic to kind of ground people in the fantasy element. And having those two in conversation with each other, I think will help people understand what not what they're supposed to do, but what they are welcome to and able to do in the game.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's always interesting to think about like what kind of vibes you can get from a character sheet too, because as much as I'm like a stickler for, you know, my things are always, when I'm making a character, I want it to be clear to me where I'm supposed to write certain things down. I don't like when I look at a sheet and like the character creation is like, hey, come up with this stat. And I'm like, cool, where do I put this number? It frustrates me. So like as much as that is like a really, really important thing to me, I think because it is that first interaction, giving people like vibes off of it, having, you know, just like a little bit of art or even, you know, like kind of like some detailing in the corners or, you know, the font choice or things like that can really give people a lot of information in not very much space. And it's always intriguing to me how much you can get from something so simple. And it is not an art form that I personally know how to do. And like, huge applause to the people that can do all of that kind of layout and design, because it ain't me.
Design stuff is something that I do tend to think about because people are almost not aware in how design is influencing them surrounding different things. This is a conversation that I had with Alex Roberts before I made O Captain My Captain, where For the Queen, as we've mentioned, is a game that like you can put it in any kind of setting. You can really take big swings. And the original For the Queen came with a bunch of queen cards that like were all kind of like fantasy to historical queens. Pretty straightforward. And when I was making Captain My Captain, I was like, I really need people to push the boundary of what they could consider to be a captain.
Yeah.
And I wanted to inform that through art. I didn't want to say like, yeah, you're supposed to be pirates. I think pirates is an easy assumption for that game. But like the art in that, which is as close as it gets to like a character sheet, I was like, I want people to look at the captain cards and know, oh yeah, a captain can be a captain of a sports team or a fire captain or a spaceship captain. And so with Cosmic Century Knights, I think a lot of it is taken care of in the character creation process and whatnot, but having that be on the sheet too, I think is going to let people know what to expect in certain ways.
Yeah, I think we underestimate how powerful those visual cues really can be, because they're so subtle oftentimes, but they are massively important.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of like flavor in just borders around sections and how the borders are stylized in certain games. It's really interesting how that pulls you into the sort of genre that certain games are playing with.
And then there's Heroes Unlimited, which is a sheet with no art at all and just a bunch of blank lines.
Hey, some of them do have a little bit of art. To be fair, it's garbage, but
it's there.
It's there.
You can't say
it's there. Just look at the Rifts character sheets.
No, thank you. I won't be doing that.
You don't need to. No.
Jeff and John can explain it to me and make up lies about it that I will believe, because the things that you have to do in those games are so absurd that every time we have them on, they make up rules to tell me. And I believe them every time.
There you go. Well, how do we think character creation for Cosmic Century Knights stacks up to other systems that we've played or created characters for?
Is it truly the best game? Wild for you to say that right off the bat. I know there was that microphone issue a second ago.
I'm really sorry that our listeners didn't get to hear, Ryan and I go on for the last 30 minutes. What a bummer.
Cannot find that audio whatsoever somehow.
Yeah, that's rough. I have to say, one thing that I really liked was, like rolling the dice ahead of time and then having to like pick where I spent those dice. Like that was very unique to me. And I loved that it narrowed down some of the choices, so that you're not like, here's a list of like 100 things and I guess we'll decide, what happens. But also that I still got to choose. It was like a really interesting balance between random rolling and pick something off of this list. And I also liked that it had a little bit of that feeling of like kind of push your luck of like, do I want to spend this here? Do I, like that resource management too? That was a lot of fun to me. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, the resource management aspect of it, I think, lives more in the actual play presentation form of this, because we're going category by category and you don't know all your options yet. If we were just sitting down for a casual game, yeah, you could spend a bunch of time in the book and go, okay, I got a 19. I want to see what 19 is for everything and pick my 19 first. You would absolutely be welcome to do that. But like still, like, if you roll the 19, you've got your 119 and you want to spend it in a fun place. This is something that I think it would be fair, as people have, like, to draw a comparison between the character creation in this and OSR. I'm decidedly not an OSR person. I don't jive with like a lot of the things that make those games fun for other people. But I also like came out of D&D 3.5, and the first games that I played are kind of like clunky, sort of older games. And there are certain nostalgic aspects of those games that I can enjoy. And so like the idea of random tables does appeal to me, but it is very much if you were to roll 3d6 down the line for your D&D stats, what you will end up with is a character who is soup. There's no logic to how the character works. And like, you're like, yeah, I've got, a 17 in my strength and like a 8 in my constitution. So like nothing. I can't do anything. I can't be a frontline fighter. So I don't know what I'm doing here at all. And I think like with just a slight modification, the sort of standard practice these days of roll 4d6 and drop the lowest and then assign those stats where you are, like, you are still randomly informing how the character comes together, but you're doing it in a way that is more controlled and allows you to take the random information and choose where you want it to be. And so I was like, I like having a bunch of weird and out there options within the game, but I also want people to assemble that kind of like a puzzle so that they can end up in a place where they feel like, oh yeah, I got to make this out of my random rolls instead of I got saddled with this because of my random rolls.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have the rolling at all and you just had people, here's your list of 20 things for each aspect of your character, have fun. It's gonna be kind of, a lot of min-maxy, or a lot of people just be like, well, this sounds okay.
Well, thankfully, in this system, it's impossible for it to be min-maxy because these choices have absolutely no mechanical impact on the game.
Exactly.
I think the problem with presenting people of like a naked list of options and just having them choose is choice paralysis. It's like there are so many interesting options. You're not pointed in a direction at all. And I think the rolling is helpful with that.
Yeah. I liked that it narrowed down. It was like, okay, of these 5, like on that first one, at least, it's like, okay, of these so many choices. Yeah. Okay, I can pick any of these, and then you do get down to that last one, which is also nice because by that one, and it's like, okay, now I don't have any more choices to make, Well, it funnels you down. You're like, I'm tired of making choices. And by that last one, you don't have to make a choice anymore, baby. You're all done.
And that's why we start with the what is the aspect that you think is most interesting, that you care about the most, because that's the one where you go through all the choices and be very careful.
Yeah.
And the one that you don't really care about, it's like, well, you either do this or the null option. So does the choice that you're given mess up your character? If that's the case, take the null option and you're fine. Otherwise, just move forward because you didn't care about it that much.
Yeah. And that was nice too, that we got to have that conversation and say like, hey, this is a thing that I care about the most, because somebody might sit down and be like, the thing I care about most is how my sword looks, so like, I want to have the most choices there, and for me, it was like, not as important. So I don't have to, we can get there and I'll get down to the bottom and have two choices and be there. So I thought that was nice too, that the game doesn't specifically say, okay, but this is the order then that you have to pick these things in. And I like random rolling personally. Again, it's different because we don't play these characters and I don't have to deal with the consequences of my choices. Because what I like about random rolling is that it often puts me like into character choices that I wouldn't normally make and sort of expands my horizons that way. I keep going back to like our Shadow Dark character creation where we ended up with people that were like awful at basically everything that we were trying to do. And sometimes that is really fun, so we created these warriors that actually ended up being door-to-door salesmen for a multi-level marketing scheme because that was all that we were good at. And we weren't even good at that. But I do, again, coming back to it, like this is like a nice balance between that random rolling and, picking straight from a list.
Right.
It felt
because
like a really good in between.
It's a lot of narrative stuff, right? It's like what's your place in the world? Who do you look like? It's going to decide your choices of how your character plays within the game and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
The mechanical stuff is when you get to the blessings and all that sort of stuff, and having those be random and unique is phenomenal. That whole like what is the ever-present board games that they have
legacy
out
games.
there. The legacy games, yeah. So it's like those legacy games that just once they're done and in your group, you're done with that sword, that blessing, and everything else beyond that's going to be fully unique.
Yeah.
The fun thing about Cosmic Century Nights is almost accidentally it fits very well in a style of play that is pretty much dead, which is organized play gaming. Where there is a shared setting that is shared by a large number of people. Because if you have like 20 players and a couple of GMs for this game, then that is 20 blessings from each category taken on the blessings chart. And if you're playing with the Fell Knights, it could be even more. So those random rolls and like which blades are out there and what they're capable of becomes an important and interesting part of the game.
Yeah.
And I do think it works really well. The play tests that we have run, I've done one on the one-shot Patreon, where basically people who support the One Shot Network on Patreon have joined for a couple games and like they're affecting the same world. The way antagonists work in this game is players work with the game master to collaboratively build up the forces that they are going to be facing in the game. So like everybody's playing against the same antagonists. There's the same list of blades. Everybody is unique. There's no character in there who doesn't bring something special to the table. I've also I've got a home instance where Allie, Drew, Mel, and I have all characters like in our own shared setting. I've got one with like a couple other people, one that I did on Start Playing. And these little modules are like a very fun part of it, especially because when somebody makes a character, they have like made their mark on the setting in a way, making a very interesting experience.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I love I also love it from a design standpoint of like from 13 to 20 for your initial options for your aspects. You can only get those on a D20. And so they're going to be the most rare, the most, usually the most narratively interesting options out there. So when you do get above that for one of your 20 rolls, it's extra exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the assumptions, the way those charts are crafted too is the lower you roll, it is, the more like almost negatively invasive a thing might be. Like we look to Amelia's character, who got a shorter lifespan, than everyone else. So it's like, or my low option for my blade. My blade is a cursed blade. It has killed every knight who has ever held it, and presumably that is going to happen to me, to my character as well. Like, those options, rolling low, it's not a punishment, but it is like kind of a fun, angsty thing to play with. Yeah. And the options of like, you know, maybe like 4 through 12 are like all, they can still get pretty wild. Like the 12 on some is like royalty. I think that's where I got my royalty pull. So you, just by having that 12, like, you can create a royal line and what happened to it within the setting. But 1 through 12 is supposed to be like what is possible from a mundane perspective. You know, like, this is what's possible in the world. And 13 through 20 is like, these are kind of crazy miracles that can also happen, but like under mortal power alone do not. Which means that every knight out of the gate, simply by how they align their control and their impact, is potentially capable of like truly miraculous feats and heroic things. So the logic, the way those dice sort of divided up those categories for your various aspects informed the logic mechanically that exists throughout the game. When you're assigning the difficulty as the GM, when you are thinking through what damage looks like, it's all like, well, I know anything that's higher than 12 is like kind of an amazing thing to be witnessing at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to ask, just from a curiosity standpoint, like, are there any in particular that you were like particularly excited about writing? Because, you know, like, as you're like making all of these charts, like, obviously you have to be writing all of those choices and all of those options too.
Well, so Drew and I together are writing those. But yeah, like, we did have a lot of fun. The births were super, super fun for us. That is probably my favorite category, simply because of what it empowers people to do. And birth was a late ad for us. The category was different at first. It wasn't quite allowing you to go so wild with it. So I like that chart as a whole, and I really like under background of the wielder, the one that I'm most excited about that has not come up in any playtesting yet. I actually lowered the number on this to 12 because I want to see it more often, but not too often, which is Isekai. Which is you are from another world and you've woken up in this one. I really, really want to see somebody go with that. It hasn't happened yet, but you know, obviously, the setting is kind of tuned to welcome nonsense like that.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like birth is like the thing that most impacted my character. Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, I think any of them, especially like if you've got a high result on any of them, it can play huge impact in what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that was my 2, which is what I love about it. It was just like, sorry, you're only going to live half as long. Like, you know.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like the blend of world building and character creation in this game, it's like feels very seamless. Like they both inform one another as you're doing it.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And that is definitely on purpose, because I run into a lot of people in like running con games or whatnot that are like, yeah, I feel less comfortable or confident in like the GM's seat or world building at all. And for me, like, that's some of the most joyful stuff that we get to do in a role-playing game. So I wanted, like, this design actually came after another one that I'm still working at and trying to find a publisher for, where, again, world building was tied very, very heavily into the character creation process. And all of that is to, like, empower people to play around with those tools, to get used to them, because the thing that, like, whether you see yourself as a world building person or not, when you come up with something that has a strong impact on a game world, it helps you become more invested in whatever's happening at the table. So organizing that as part of the game, I think makes all of the play experiences potentially much stronger.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that we advocate really heavily, is that, like, a shared world building of some kind is probably the quickest way to get people to really buy into what's happening in a game. It's the quickest way to kind of create that relationship between a player and the setting and the game itself. And I know, obviously, like, that's something that Drew's incredibly passionate about, is world building in general. That's, like, his hill to die on, and I love that for him. So I'm excited that this really, like, fits so seamlessly in there.
Totally comes through in the contributions that Drew made as well.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out, it's my question, right? It's this one here. Okay.
It is, yeah.
Like, I've been talking a lot, so it doesn't feel like it should be my turn to ask a question, but how do you think the process of making characters in this game kind of sets up expectations for what the game will be like for people? Do you feel like it's kind of shows them what the game is going to be like, or do you feel like it's a kind of separate process?
It's fully half of the picture, because we've got character creation, and then the other part of it is antagonist creation, is you know, playing who, or figuring out who your characters are going to be battling against. That sets up the themes for the game really strongly. Having a sense of the identity of your character is important going in, but that's not the whole world. Like, you figure out what's on the other side of it, because everything in between is what you're protecting. So I think the character creation is important, and when I get the opportunity, I like to run character creation and antagonist creation, like, right next to each other, because the thing that happens in my favorite systems is always, I get through character creation and I cannot wait to start playing. I have so many ideas about what could be happening, what I want my character to, like, go for, and that is always really clear to me after I've made a character in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like, the hard part about this show is now that I never get to find out what will happen. It's awful.
I mean, that's up to you. You know, like, take the character, play the game.
I know. We don't do that here. We've literally done it, like, one time. That's it. And I think
Amelia,
that
you're in charge of your life. I can't tell you how badly you're screwing up if you want to do something and you're not doing it.
I know. It's hard. It's hard.
This is character therapy hour with James
It's
D'Amato.
hard enough to get the character creation scheduled. We don't have time to play games.
Call to action.
Yeah, like that.
It is always lovely to sit down with James and just talk about role-playing stuff. He is incredibly knowledgeable and definitely an expert in the field. And this was a wonderful conversation that we had about him and about this game. I am thrilled that this game had crossed that finish line for the Kickstarter, and we are just less than a week away from getting there. So to the end of the crowdfunding campaign. So I am excited for them. They are putting a lot of effort into this game, and it really shows. And I cannot wait for you to hear the rest of the series, as well as our fanfic, where we talk a little bit about the antagonists a bit more. It is a fantastic series all around. So that next episode, as you'll find out in a second, is going to be coming up soon. So stay tuned. But before we let you go for the day, we do have some calls to action. First up, like I mentioned, the Kickstarter for Cosmic Century Nights is funded at the time you are listening to this and goes until the end of this week. If you like what you're hearing in this series, definitely head on over to the link in our show notes and get your pledge in if you haven't already. Since the last episode of this series doesn't make sense to release after the Kickstarter ends, we're planning to release that episode this coming Thursday, the day before the Kickstarter ends. So keep your eyes out for that. Next up, if you will be attending GameHole Con coming up in October in Madison, Wisconsin, we would love to see you. We have a panel set up for that Friday night on October 17th at 8 p.m. Central U.S. time, right at the end of the night, kind of, for a lot of folks. And I think it'll be a great way to wind down from the first and second day festivities of the convention. We'll have a panel where we will be creating random characters with the audience using our custom C3 random character generation table device thing from many random role-playing games that we own. We also have some supplements, a lot of James's books and whatnot are utilized in that, and it turns out pretty remarkable once we all throw it together. It has the potential to really create some phenomenal people, and we would love to add your creativity to the mix to figure out what it all means. It's a 2-hour event to give us enough time to create 4 characters together and do a bit of world building in the process. We would love to see you there and meet you afterwards. Another way to see us live would be with our Undying Bonds live stream. We are tentatively planning for Wednesday, October 1st at 6:30 p.m. Central U.S. time. We have a lot to go over together still, and we'll be able to really get to the core of the game sooner rather than later. It should be a fun time, so join us on the One Shot Twitch channel at twitch.tv/OneShotRPG on that day. Aside from that, we would love it if you checked out the C3 Patreon at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. We are only $1 away from our $160 a month goal, which will let us hire someone to do monthly webpage updates to our site at charactercreationcast.com. This would let us add information to pages dedicated to all of the games that we are covering on the show, including links to character sheets, links to the episodes, and more. And I am already in the talks with someone to handle this task for us. So if we can get there this week even, they will be able to get started right away, starting with this month's series. In addition to that, as a thank you to our patrons for getting us to this milestone, we will create a unique enamel pin for all of our campaign level backers. And it looks like we will be able to get a whole bunch of those pins to give away to any future campaign level backers as well. And we are just that $1 away from that goal, so it's very close. You could be the one to get us there. If we can keep going and get to that $200 a month level, not only will that unlock yearly subscriptions to our supporters at a good discount, it will also mean that we can afford to pay the new web admin a bit more every month to update the backlog of games on our site. This level is only a little over 4 campaign level backers away. Joining at the campaign level means that you get new stickers for every month that you are a patron. We do have a few more to design, but we hope to get that soon once life stops being in the way. Including you'll get one of every sticker that we still have on hand, which is about 25 of them or so. You'll also get a set of 3d6 C3 branded dice that are really great quality from ChessX. You'll get a personalized thank you card from the both of us, handcrafted by Amelia herself, as well as many other perks. This is all for $10 a month, and it will go a long way towards making that one-stop shop for any of the games that we cover in the show on our website. We also have tiers at the $5 level, which does get you the dice, the thank you card, and our bonus episodes, as well as the $1 level that gets you various perks as well, like our occasional chit-chat episodes and bonus outtakes. So head on over to patreon.com/charactercreationcast to get all the info. In addition to all of that, we do like to thank our current patrons every episode, including a brand new patron this week. Your support truly helps out a great deal, so let's go ahead and do that right now. Thanks to Lieutenant DJG, aka Tigranosaurus, and Eric Bonds. We're so glad to have you with us. Daryl Holiday II, Shadim Cabal, and the Shyest Barbarian, thanks for believing in us. Benjamin Sweeney, Rob Fletcher, and Kevin Brown, thanks for helping us make this show. Tentacle Doc, John Adamus, and A3 Sketchpad, we're happy to have you here with us. Thank you. Carlos Salazar, Eric S., and Ian Potmeyer, thank you for your continued support as well. Liam G., Brian Colm, and Garden GM, thanks for helping us make this show. Many thanks to Tanglefoot, Blue Kryptonite, and Danny. Nicole Trainer, Liam Murray, and Kenning, thanks for making this all possible. Brian Kurtz, Marky Fair, and True Owen, thank you for your continued support. Oz, Sean Metcalf, and Robert, thanks for helping us make this. Kevin Bates, Deadly Edley, and Allison Cole, thanks for supporting our dreams. And brand new patron this month, Blue Scholar, thank you so very much for helping us out on this journey. And thank you to all of our future patrons. If you want to join this phenomenal group of individuals, please head on over to patreon.com/charactercreationcast and help us out. And with more assistance, we'll be able to make those website upgrades to make exploring your favorite games that much easier. And if you want to join in the discussion with our hosts, some of our guests, and a bunch of fans, head on over to our Discord at discord.charactercreationcast.com. Finally, if you want to help us out in another way that doesn't require any money, you can leave a rating or review for our show on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or Podcast Addict. We will read every new 5-star review as we get them, and as we both have a chance to record together. That's all we have for today's episode. Join us here next time when we finish up our discussion series for Cosmic Century Knights, including our fanfiction. Until then, take care, everyone. Stay safe, drink some water, and keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for part 1 of this discussion series. We'll be back in part 2, picking up right where we left off.
Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can also be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at CreationCast, or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, exclusive merch, and much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time.